Okay, so you've brought in some really thought-provoking stuff this time.
Yeah, it all centers around this book by Sunday Adelaja, Money Won't Make You Rich.
And for this deep dive, our goal is really to pull out the biggest ideas, right?
Hmm.
His perspective on wealth, poverty, and faith's role in it all.
Exactly. And it's kind of surprising when you first look at it.
Yeah, you see the title, you might think, okay, just another money book. But the endorsements, wow,
It's quite a list.
seriously. You've got Nigerian business figures, American bishops, the Get Motivated CEO, even President Bill Clinton.
And the chairman of Ukraine's Supreme Court, the U.S. Senate chaplain.
Plus mentions in the BBC, AP, Wall Street Journal. It's like this really broad appeal.
It definitely suggests there's something compelling in his message,
Yeah.
something that resonates across different
And
worlds.
his own story is, well, pretty incredible.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he talks about starting from, like, true abject poverty in Nigeria.
No shoes till age 12, family on less than $1 a day, never saw a toy.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine.
And then to go from that to leading this massive church in Ukraine.
And mentoring, what was it, over 200 millionaires in just a couple of years?
Yeah.
200 millionaires, it really makes you lean in and ask, what principles did he figure out?
Exactly. It's not just his own success, but replicating it. So that's what we're digging into for you listening.
We want to unpack his main arguments, overcoming poverty, building wealth. It's this blend of practical money stuff and spiritual ideas.
Designed to be quick, thorough, and hopefully give you some of those aha
Hmm?
moments. Okay, let's get into it.
Let's start where he starts, the reality of poverty. He uses these two snapshots to paint a picture.
Right, and the contrast is really stark. First, a suburban American family. Kansas City, he says.
Yeah, surrounded by, well, loads of possessions, multiple cars, house full of furniture, electronics, just stuff.
So much stuff.
And then the other snapshot, an average poor family in a Nigerian village, much like his own childhood.
10 people maybe, thatched hut, maybe a goat, a pig. Right. And their total possessions, maybe a dozen things.
Yeah.
Cooking pots, digging sticks, firewood, no electricity, clothes they're wearing.
It really forces you to visualize that massive gap in living standards.
And then he brings in the World Bank definitions. Extreme poverty, less than $1 a day.
$1 a day.
And moderate poverty, under $2. It's tough to grasp, but he says over 1 billion people live on less than that dollar.
1 billion. And nearly 3 billion under $2.
It's a huge chunk of the world's population. He also mentions research showing like the richest 50 million in Europe and North America,
Yeah.
their combined income is about the same as almost 3 billion poor people globally.
Wow. Just think about that concentration of wealth.
It really highlights the imbalance he's trying to address.
And the consequences are tragic.
Absolutely. He points out that poverty-related causes are behind a third of all deaths each year.
A third. How many people is that?
About 18 million people a year. That's like 50,000 people every day. Mostly women and children, he says.
50,000 a day. Those numbers are devastating.
They really are. And this stark reality is what fuels his main argument.
Which is?
That Christians, really anyone of faith, need to become kingdom-minded to help solve world poverty.
Kingdom-minded. What does he mean by that exactly?
Essentially, it's letting your faith guide everything, including how you handle money. Seeing resources as tools for God's work, helping others, not just for yourself. He's very clear. Poverty isn't God's plan.
Okay, so this stark picture, then the spiritual call to action. Where does he take it from there? What are the solutions?
Well, first, he kind of critiques some aspects of prosperity teaching.
Ah, okay. What's his issue there?
He's concerned about teachings that focus too much on just giving money to the church as the only way to get personal wealth.
Right.
Especially if it seems like only the leaders are really prospering, living lavishly while the people giving are still struggling.
You hear that criticism sometimes about certain megachurches, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Adelaja argues that real wealth creation isn't just about shuffling money within a church. It's about actually producing things, goods, services.
Reading value out in the world.
Yes. He even uses examples like the Donald Trumps of this world, people maybe not known for strong faith, but who built wealth through business, through production.
So the focus shifts from just giving to actively creating.
Precisely. He looks at Proverbs 13.22 that way. He says the righteous get wealth by making better stuff, better services, things people actually want to buy. It's about excellence attracting success.
That puts the responsibility more on the individual's actions and quality of work.
And he links this to Luke 16, the part about being trustworthy with little things before you handle bigger things.
Okay.
He connects that trustworthiness directly to the quality of your work. If you're not reliable with small tasks or managing worldly stuff, why expect more responsibility, financial or otherwise?
So competence and integrity in your work are foundational.
Absolutely. And he even suggests that the wealth of the wicked, maybe wealth gained unfairly or just sitting there,
Yeah.
will eventually shift to the righteous. How? When the righteous just do a better job, basically. They excel, create superior value, and customers naturally gravitate towards them.
Huh. It's like an economic consequence of being better at what you do.
Kind of, yeah. It's presented that way.
Okay, so he set the stage. Poverty's bad, some teachings are off, production is key. What are the practical steps he suggests for building wealth?
He starts with a principle he calls pay God first and yourself second.
Okay, I've heard pay yourself first, but pay God first.
Right. So step one is automatic tithing. Then he suggests automatically sending other funds to the church too. But then critically, an automatic transfer to your own pay myself second account.
Ah, so it's both. How much does he suggest for yourself?
He says maybe 10–30% of your regular income, but then a really high percentage, like 80–90% of any extra or unexpected money.
Wow, 80–90% of windfalls.
Yeah. The key isn't just the exact percentage, though. It's the habit of prioritizing both your spiritual giving and your own financial future right from the start, building that muscle.
Makes sense. Setting priorities automatically.
Exactly. Then, obviously, consistent saving, making it automatic so it actually happens, and using safe places for it, like fixed deposits or savings accounts.
And he talks about cutting spending too, right? Savings through economizing.
Yes, definitely.
No.
He makes the point that wealth isn't just about your income level, it's about how much you keep. You can earn a lot and still be broke if you spend it all.
True.
He uses those everyday examples, the daily coffee, the muffins, small impulse buys, things we often don't think about.
A little leaks.
Right. And he shows how saving, even just say $5 or $10 a day by cutting those out, well, over time, it adds up.
How much?
He suggests with decent investment growth, like 10% a year over maybe 40 years, those small daily savings could actually get close to $1 million.
$1 million. From saving like coffee money.
It sounds wild, but it's the power of compounding over decades. Those small amounts become significant.
That really puts those small daily choices in perspective.
It does. And in this section, he also gives some very blunt advice. Don't lend money.
Just flat out.
Yeah, he basically says you are not a bank. Avoid taking on that risk and headache.
Okay, clear boundary there. So save first, watch spending. How does he talk about wealth itself? Is it just money?
No, he makes a distinction. Wealth, for him, is having all your needs and wants met: food, shelter, clothes, the essentials. Money is just the tool we use in our economy to move that wealth around to get those things.
So money facilitates wealth, but
Yeah.
isn't wealth itself.
Right. You could technically be wealthy without money if you somehow had direct access to everything. But realistically, in our world, you need to understand money to build wealth.
Got it. So mastering money is key to getting wealthy.
Exactly. And he gives this practical wisdom for aspiring millionaires.
Like what?
Things like having a saving mentality, saving to invest, not just saving. Avoiding unnecessary spending. He even categorizes how people use money.
Oh, yeah.
He says fools waste it, average people spend it, but the wise invest it. Because investments become assets, things that make you more money later.
Assets versus liabilities.
Exactly. He touches on that too. The rich tend to buy assets, rental properties, stocks, things that generate income. The poor or middle class often buy liabilities, things that cost them money, like fancy cars on bad loans, consumer debt.
That's a classic distinction.
And he brings it back to faith too. Fight pride. Remember, you're just a manager, a steward of God's resources.
Right, that kingdom-minded idea again.
And he pulls out specific kingdom principles too, like money must serve the kingdom or it becomes dangerous. Don't trust riches over God. Master money so it works for God.
And that bold claim.
Yeah, that every Christian can become a millionaire. He really puts that out there.
Okay, but surely there are dangers with focusing on money, even with good intentions.
Oh, definitely. He tackles the pitfalls of the love of money. head on.
It's the love of money that's the problem, right? Not money itself.
Precisely. That's the root of evil, he says, quoting scripture.
Right.
And that love can totally enslave you. He uses lottery winners as an example.
How they often end up broke again.
Yeah, it shows that just having money doesn't mean you have financial wisdom or, inner peace about it.
You need the skills and the right mindset to handle it.
Right. And that leads him to godliness with contentment. He says that's worth more than gold, being grateful for what you have now.
But wait, isn't he also pushing people to strive for more? How does contentment fit with becoming a millionaire?
It's a balance. He suggests being discontent with sin or mediocrity, but content and grateful for your current provision. He argues that constant complaining or discontent can actually block further blessings. Inner change needs to come first.
So, get your heart right, then pursue growth.
Kind of, and he hammers home again. Wealth needs to be earned or created. Don't just wait for a miracle payout. Faith needs action.
Faith and works, working together.
Okay.
So how do we increase our ability to create that wealth?
Big focus on maximizing opportunities and the power of knowledge.
Lifelong learning stuff.
Totally. He pushes for continuous self-education. He even calls cars potential mobile education centers. Use your commute to listen to audiobooks, financial lessons, things like that.
Turn downtime into learning time.
Yeah.
Smart.
And he references Deuteronomy 8.18. God gives the ability or the power to get wealth, not necessarily the wealth itself handed over.
The potential, the capacity.
Right. And it's crucial to invest that initial seed, whether it's money, talent, an idea, not just consume it right away.
Investment mindset versus consumer mindset.
Exactly. He shares these really cool stories to illustrate it. An Armenian pastor, illiterate, but became wealthy by diligently listening to and applying financial tapes.
Wow, despite being illiterate.
Yeah, and a young student who became a millionaire by applying the principles even to her tiny income.
Those stories make it feel possible, don't they?
They really do. And he lists these 8 rules of financial equilibrium.
Okay, like what?
Things like use your financial seed or lose its potential. God gives the ability to gain wealth. Real investment starts with saving. Taking advantage of opportunities is vital. Finance operates by laws you need to learn.
So it's not random luck, there are principles to follow. What's the end goal of all this financial striving for Adelaja?
Ultimately, it's financial freedom, but defined as depending only on God, not being enslaved by money. You have to conquer the love of money to get there.
And he sees most people as not being free.
He points out that maybe 95% of people globally face money shortages, while only 5% have abundance. And that shortage often leads to being a slave to money, just chasing the next paycheck.
Yeah, that constant pressure.
So he introduces the first law of money, multiplication. Think the parable of the talents.
Using what you have to create more.
Right. He advises churches and individuals, set aside a portion, maybe start with 10% if 30% is too much, specifically for saving and investing. Critically, he says, only spend the profit from the multiplied money, not the original seed capital.
Preserve the principal, live off the gains. Classic investment advice.
Yep. He gives an example of a church member turning 1 apartment into 5 by reinvesting, smart, buying and selling. And he repeats that idea. Knowledge attracts wealth. The more you know, the more you can grow.
Invest in your financial IQ. Makes sense. Does he connect this back to deeper personal stuff?
Oh, absolutely. He talks a lot about the importance of inner transformation and calling.
Oh, so?
He says, real, solid success needs God as a foundation. In the beginning was the Word. That applies to your life's work, too.
Hey.
And he gives a formula. Preparation plus opportunity, success, referencing Ecclesiastes. He uses his own move to Ukraine for a TV job, as an example who was prepared when the chance came.
Be ready when the door opens.
Exactly. And he warns that just not wanting to change can keep you poor. You need constant self-improvement, readiness. Successful people put in more effort. They go the extra mile.
It's not just about prayer, then.
No, he's clear. Financial breakthrough needs diligence alongside prayer and spiritual zeal. He shares stories of faithful people who struggled because they just didn't understand basic money rules, making it, multiplying it, managing expenses, increasing profit.
So faith without financial literacy isn't enough.
Apparently not, in his view. He tells about a woman who sold her apartment based on Proverbs wisdom, get wisdom, gain understanding, to invest in a business. Money is for investing, not just spending.
That's a radical step, selling your home.
It is. And another story of a widow who used her apartment for ministry after her husband died, relied on God, and saw financial provision come through her giving and service. It ties back to trusting God and being wise.
So how do we overcome the ignorance part if knowledge is so key?
That's central. Overcoming financial ignorance and using the power of the mind. Knowledge is power in finance. God entrusts money to those who know how to multiply it, not just spend it.
And the world system? Don't help.
He suggests the world's financial system can kind of keep the 95% struggling, partly due to lack of knowledge. So he says you need to actively study people with money, learn from them, but always balance it with scripture.
Be a student of finance and faith.
Yes. And he adds, maybe the best stewardship isn't just managing your own money, but helping others become successful too, lifting others up.
Paying it forward.
He brings back the asset liability thing, the rich buy assets, the poor buy liabilities, widening the gap. You need a good mind, filled with godly knowledge and practical financial info. Seek it out.
Be proactive about learning.
He shares Victor's testimony, this guy realizing poverty was a state of mind, that God doesn't limit abundance. And again, warns against getting too comfortable, too content with where you are financially. Keep growing.
Never settle.
Yeah.
Okay, practically speaking, how does he say people actually make money?
He lists 5 ways to make money: salary, small, medium, and business, big business, honorariums, royalties, and investments.
But he's down on salary alone.
Yeah, he argues you can't get truly rich just from a salary because most of it goes to your boss or the government in taxes. He uses examples from Ukraine about how big businesses often avoid taxes legally.
So salary has limits. How does he define rich then?
True richness is being able to keep your standard of living without having to work forever for active income. Financial independence, basically.
Okay. And how do people achieve that?
He says the rich work hard, yes, but they also make smart choices, see opportunities others miss, maximize them, and have that can-do mindset. Versus those who struggle, who might rely more on hoping for miracles or luck and maybe don't use their time as effectively.
It's about mindset and strategy again.
Definitely. He tells Helen's story, becoming a millionaire in 5 years.
Ow.
Strategic real estate, using loans cleverly.
Taking on debt. I thought he advised against lending.
This is good debt, borrowing to buy assets that will make more money than the loan costs. But she paid them back fast to avoid loads of interest. It was calculated risk for asset acquisition.
Okay, strategic leverage.
Yeah.
Now, what about the internal stuff? What makes people fail financially from the inside out?
Ah, yes, the reasons for financial failure. Big one is just a wrong attitude. Maybe overcoming a tough background like a fatherless childhood, he mentions.
Mindset again?
Yep. Also, not taking responsibility. He references the dependency sometimes seen after communism in the former USSR, regretting the past instead of focusing forward.
Letting go of what's behind.
Right. False modesty, not seeing yourself as capable as God sees you, trying to please people instead of God, being lukewarm, no passion, procrastination.
Ouch, procrastination hits home for many.
Tell me about it. Keeping the wrong company, negative influences. And that false contentment again, lack of drive.
That's a lot of potential pitfalls. How do you stay on track then?
He offers 4 principles of continuous success. First, see the seed of potential and calling inside you. Second, keep a healthy dissatisfaction with your current level, always striving, like Philippians 3 says.
Keep reaching.
Third, don't violate God's laws, moral, physical, financial. And fourth, understand that God uses problems and crises to teach you, push you, make you grow. Like his church grew despite opposition.
See challenges, growth opportunities.
Yeah.
Romans 8.28 idea.
Exactly. But he warns, today's success can become tomorrow's obstacle if you stop striving.
Complacency kills progress.
Which leads right into the importance of your calling as the basis for financial success. True success isn't just money, though money might be part of it.
It's about purpose.
Right. He tells a sad story of a rich executive who lost his family chasing money, then found real meaning in faith. Adelaja reflects on his own poverty, realizing destiny isn't fixed by birth.
And his call to Ukraine.
Yeah, how he resisted at first, then obeyed, and saw God's plan unfold. That kingdom-mindedness is about passionate love for God shown through practical ministry and service. Action, not just belief.
Absolutely. He even shares about a death threat he got from nationalists. His response. Love, sharing his mission. And it led to a surprisingly positive outcome. Fulfilling God's will, he says, is the key to success.
So how do you know your calling?
He says, God has a plan, only he knows it fully, it's for good, he'll bring hopes to pass, promises a secure future, nothing's by chance. Look inside your heart, your gifts often meet needs through service. God made you for a purpose. Know God through his word to know yourself and your calling.
Look within, look at needs, look to God. Okay. So once you're earning and potentially succeeding, how do you handle the money itself responsibly?
Good question. Making money work for you and avoiding greed. Church money is for the people and God's work, not just the pastor's lifestyle. Make every dollar count. Make it work for you. Try to make 10 before spending 1 is his idea.
Budgeting.
Yes, live and work by a budget. And beware of greed. It leads to spiritual bankruptcy, destroys integrity, creates false security and wealth, and it starts with coveting. He points to the Wall Street crisis as greed on a massive scale. But avoiding greed isn't an excuse for being lazy, right?
No way. He quotes Proverbs about the diligent hand bringing wealth. He sticks to his claim. Every Christian can be a millionaire by knowing the laws of money. More millions means more kingdom impact potential.
Okay, what final qualities does he say are essential for this kind of lasting success?
Patience is huge. You have to patiently do God's will to get the promises. Humility, too. God opposes the proud. Remember, God is the source. He gives the power to get wealth.
Patience, humility, remembering the source. Got it. Anything else practical?
Yeah, decisiveness. Make decisions, act on them quickly. Minimize that gap between deciding and doing.
Take action.
And continuous learning tips. Tip 5, do something new each day. Keeps you fresh, learning. Tip 6, specialize, go deep in your field. Tip 7, find inspiration in obstacles, see them as steps.
Keep learning, keep moving, stay focused, and finally, priorities.
Crucial, efficient time planning. Make daily lists, life lists. But priority number 1, always, is the Lord. He shares his own routine, God first, then family, then ministry work.
Setting aside real time for God.
Yes, like maybe a week, a month for focused study, prayer, fasting. Don't get overburdened. Distinguish urgent from important. But the main thing, God must be your first priority for real success.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up, Adelaja's message in Money Won't Make You Rich is really this deep blend, isn't it?
It really is. Spiritual principles, practical work, financial smarts, and this constant focus on serving God's purposes. It's all interwoven.
And he argues quite strongly that financial success built this way is possible for anyone, no matter where they start.
Yeah, if they commit to understanding and living out these principles with that kingdom-minded perspective he talks about.
Which brings us to that final thought for everyone listening. Considering Adelaja's own incredible journey from such deep poverty to influencing so many, what's one principle, just one idea from everything we've talked about today that really hits home for you in your situation right now? And maybe what's one tiny step you could take, maybe even this week, to start putting it into practice?
That's a great question to ponder. The connection between faith, our work, our finances, it's definitely worth thinking about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive.